Hello there, you beautiful people. My name is Willow, and today we have a different kind of video that I'm excited to bring to you. Today I'm joined by a very cool friend of mine, Tatsu. He has been around the FAF community for quite a long time, and I'm interviewing him on a project he's working on called Sanctuary. It's a grand strategy RTS much akin to the games made by Chris Taylor, the lead designer of Total Annihilation and Forged Alliance. Without a further ado, let's get into it. Hello, Tatsu. Introduce yourself and let us know what it is you do and what you're working on, please.
So hello everyone, I'm Tatsu. As you well put it, I've been a member of the FAF community for a long time. My contributions to FAF are few and far between. I've drawn the achievements icons. I did a lot of the initial UI layout for the Java clients, desktop clients. And I've made the full screen script, the fake full screen script. I've helped out with running Forge Alliance and FAF on Linux. That's basically what I've done on FAF. You know, apart for being active and responding to questions and stuff like that. I'm creating a video game, a new
Very big
real-time strategy.
That is a sentence inside of itself. I'm creating a video game is like, I hear that and I'm just thinking that's big. It's not a small thing. To even create a simple video game, it's not small, and I don't think what you're working on is very simple.
No, it's not. I'd rank the difficulty of real-time strategy games at like second place. You know, I probably put first place for MMORPGs. The scope of those just end up generally just exploding, and the netcode that you have to do to support that, often becomes a whole thing unto itself.
Yeah.
RTS are also very difficult.
So Sanctuary, of course, is going to be an RTS, as we said, akin to the Chris Taylor types of RTS. So you're talking about it being on an indie scale and it being this is the first video game you've worked on, like from scratch.
Yep. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Not so for the rest of the team. Most of the rest of the team, almost all of them have worked on previous video games. Most of them actually released, sometimes personal indie projects and everything like that. There's quite a lot of experience to go around on the team as a whole. I personally come in and act as somebody who funds the whole initiative, orchestrates it all, and also does the UI, the game UI.
I guess my first primary question would be, what is the primary goal of Sanctuary? What is the final, like, if you can see it in your head, what's the visualization of what you want it to be in, say, I don't know, 2-3 years?
Right. So your question is more what's the best case scenario for Sanctuary, rather than what's our goal. I see two different possible questions and answers there.
You can answer both of them, honestly.
Well, I'll start by answering yours. So the best case scenario for Sanctuary is that first of all, the Kickstarter succeeds, takes us a little bit more into AAA territory, if not completely AAA territory. We then add a campaign, add an AI to this game, make it kind of epic in scale. It becomes a successful title. If I were to visualize it as such in 3 years, it would be a title that would have possibly caught up to the likes of Age of Empires 2, whichever edition they're on, Ultimate, Infinite, by then. So yeah, and the flip side of that answer, what's the goal of Sanctuary? If we look at it from the perspective of the team that's working on it, all of us here in Harden Media, it would be just to make a game that people play, people enjoy, and that to actually bring a game to release a fully functioning game, and that could take a life of its own. It's not a very big goal. In this goal, we're not even necessarily hoping to break even. We understand that this is a gamble, but we're brought to this mostly by passion. I'm brought to this by passion. I've been, holding out hope for some new entry in the particular genre of simulated projectile RTS, and it just hasn't come. And so since no one's gonna roll up the sleeves, well then I will.
Yeah.
And so that, I think, really answers what's the goal of Sanctuary. And if it goes further, if it goes beyond, so be it. I'll be happy. I'll be even happier.
Gotcha. So, just kind of wrap that up. Your goal is to make a game that you've been waiting for and holding out hope for years, and I understand that because I've been hoping for something like FAF myself to come out also for years, a more updated and modern version. Moving on to another question though, which is kind of in line with that, is why make another grand strategy game though? There's still a lot of options. There's BAR, there's FAF, there's PA. And what is Sanctuary going to inherently bring that these games do not already have?
Well, there's a number of things that right out of the gate. I think I gotta do this with a hierarchy, right? So I'll just order them, starting with Planetary Annihilation, which in terms of functionality, which in terms of what it brings to the table, has the most. If we're looking at it really with that clinical perspective, it ranks first. Obviously, in terms of gameplay and fun, and this is subjective, for the most part, it doesn't rank as well. But it does have full multi-threading. It does have the client-server model. So it has a lot of benefits. It has rewinding and replays, skipping ahead in replays. It has a whole bunch of these functionalities in terms of core code that we really aspire to for Sanctuary. However, as you know, the gameplay of Sanctuary is held back by introducing the mechanic of spherical maps.
Really quick, you said the gameplay of Sanctuary. You meant the gameplay of Planetary Annihilation.
Sorry, the gameplay of Planetary Annihilation, yeah. Is held back by its spherical maps. So yeah, Sanctuary goes the opposite direction and has traditional quote-unquote 2D maps, of course, with volume. Upper hand that we're going to have on a game like Planetary Annihilation is that because of our setup with the netcode, where one of the players in the game acts as server to the other players, we expect to experience better performance. Planetary Annihilation has to actually hosts its own servers. For the most part, of course, people can host servers, but this is not a common practice. It's not even well known enough. Servers cost a lot, and well, the servers you can afford give you X amount of performance in the case of Planetary Annihilation. That performance is really good. And yeah, in terms of like the gameplay, like the engagement, the exchanges with units and stuff like that, the you know the how palpable the simulated projectiles are in the experience of playing that game. It's it's hard to really enjoy the simulated projectiles there. Most of that is kind of throwaway. The units have very low HP, so
Yeah.
It's a complicated question to answer. But the fact of the matter is, yeah, you've got a certain audience that is expecting, well, flat maps and a more rich strategical interaction with the units, as well as good performance, especially when you get into late game and many thousands of units. Well then, I think Sanctuary is going to have your answer there. At Bar, well, for Bar, it's still on the on a single core for the simulation. It is 64-bit as opposed to Supreme Commander, but yeah, still you can get in situations where the frame rate in particular struggles in late game. And Supreme Commander suffers from all of that, on top of connectivity issues.
Yeah.
In relation to its peer-to-peer netcode. So yeah, it's an answer that's quite hard to answer without getting technical, because the audience that I'm dealing here with, I know that they're actually interested. Performance, the connectivity, these are the kinds of things that they struggle with on a day-to-day basis. Whereas gameplay, well, I would say that most of the audience have found what they want in terms of gameplay. Although there are things that can be pushed further. For example, we have support for bridges in Sanctuary, where you have units that are going to be passing over other units. The pathfinding fully handles that. Likewise, we'll be able to do things where you have, for example, lakes that have iced up, and then submarines that are still in the water underneath that's not iced up can still traverse and go to the other side. Tanks can roll over on top of the ice. We can add a lot of things that will enrich all of this strategical gameplay that we've come to know and love. And yeah, we've got a number of tricks up our sleeve, a lot of which I actually can't reveal to you this day, because they're gonna be part of our big reveal on the Kickstarter launch day.
All right. Yeah, that makes sense. You gotta keep a ace up your sleeve. I get that. As far as it goes, I'm just gonna try and sum up what you said, because I understand pretty much everything, I think, from beginning to end there. But to sum it up for those who aren't so technically inclined, the answer to the question is, what is Sanctuary going to have that the other games on the market don't already have? Bar and FAF are... Bar, from my personal experience, just has a lot of fundamental issues with just simply getting into the game and it working. FAF has a lot of connectivity issues and has a lot of issues whenever the longer the game goes on, the slower it gets. Sanctuary wants to have the more traditional map style that FAF and Bar have, with increased performance and its own unique style and unique mechanics that bring more substance to the table than these games could have with their limited technology and whatever other things have been setting them back in short.
That's right. Yeah.
I was just making sure you agree with that summarization.
Absolutely. Yeah, just to sum it up one last time, yeah, Supreme Commander is a 14-year-old engine now, and it's 32 bits single core for the simulation. For a good part of the simulation, it has a second core for that. Overall, it isn't well threaded. Sanctuary is fully threaded. If you have 64 cores, it'll run on your 64 cores. You'll be able to get the best out of the hardware that you have. And in this day and age, where people are becoming equipped with Threadripper processors and 3080, 3090 graphics cards, there's like a lot of hardware that is available that we're not tapping into. So yeah, we really want to do something with that, right?
You even have people.
We can even have ray tracing, for example, down the line. We've already experimented with that, but something that's not a priority for us, but obviously it's a possibility. It's enableable. Our project is already set up for that.
And also a big thing with being able to use more core counts and more threads, multi-threading and all that is there's so many people getting Ryzens nowadays, and Ryzen is so much stronger when it can actually use all of its threads, because it has
absolutely
it just works better whenever it's using all of them than over one. So moving on to the next question is how many people are currently working on the game?
Yeah, in my dev Discord, currently we're 22. So yeah, there's quite a few that are working on this project. By the by, we accept hobbyist contributors. If people have free time and they want to contribute to this project, that's definitely something that we do. So yeah, but do you want me to run through the actual official team members?
That's up to you. If you want to run through who's working on it and who isn't, and if you want to give them some credit, that's perfectly fine. I was just more so curious about the size of team we're looking at, because we've seen a lot of indie games that have 2 to 3 developers, and then we've seen some indie devs with up to 50 to 60 people working on a game, and just give people an idea of the manpower behind it.
Right. Yeah. We're I would say a pretty big sized team for an indie scale, but we're definitely still in that indie category. We're running things on a shoestring budget to the degree that we can, but yeah, we have a lot of people who are interested, a lot of people who are very, very passionate about creating Sanctuary. Quite a number of people that have come on as contractors for Sanctuary.
So what is the roadmap, or I don't know if roadmap's the right word for the question, but I also don't know if final launch is the right word for this, but what's the roadmap from today to the final launch of the game? I know most games nowadays, you don't have a final launch. They get updated forever, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to be in development forever, definitely. First of all, we have, imperatives in terms of, the cash flow that I have, that we have. We obviously, because of that, we can't be running it forever right now. We're just running on our savings, but we'll be running a Kickstarter this December of 2021. If this Kickstarter fails, and notice I'm being very down to earth about this, I perfectly realize that this is a possibility. If the Kickstarter fails, then we're out of funds, and then the game simply releases on Steam on January 2022. So that's like an initial release date, but it's also dependent on what how it ends up playing out. So yeah, if the Kickstarter is successful, and we go for like the big set of features, all the things that would fall under the hat of single player, and the bigger promises that we want to make, then yeah, we're going for a year longer, and you could expect a release by January of 2023.
All
And we
right.
have these questions answered on the FAQ of the website, by the way. But yeah, so I guess like we're a little bit more old school, you would say, in terms of game development. We don't want to stretch things infinitely. We don't want to be in an infinite death cycle of making huge promises and stuff. I think a lot of that falls under how much we're making this out of passion and everything. We want to play this game as much as you guys, so
Yeah.
so we want it to be out, right? We don't want to spend our lifetime making this. We want to spend 2 years, grand maximum, or something like that. Maybe it'll go for like 2 years and a half or something, but really we just want to have a playable game that has feature parity with things like the tiles you've mentioned, and that adds on top of that all the features we want, and most importantly, better networking, multi-threading, and a lot of fun little toys to play with.
Gotcha. So the Kickstarter starts in December of 2021, correct?
Yeah,
And is
it'll
it
run for about 30 days, I think.
okay?
Probably not. Yeah.
All right. I will. Since I'm super interested, and I'm all honestly, I want to see this project be successful. I'll probably be making another
Thank you.
video around December and be like, "Hey, you got spare $5? Go throw it at these people. They're awesome."
Thank you. Yeah, that means a lot.
So, moving on from that, the game is going to be single payment. You're going to pay once to get the game, which might seem old school, but I also agree. It's the way games should be. Do we have a starting price for the game, or is that going to be
No,
decided later?
that's going to be decided later. Sorry, I don't know yet.
All right. That was a quick question. The game boasts having little or no lag. How specifically is this possible? Feel free to get as technical as you want, but I know a lot of people are going to see that and they're going to be a bit suspicious, and of course, I'm sure it's all dependent. Like, if you have absolute trash internet, you're going to lag, but still.
Well, like for something like Supreme Commander, it really isn't helped when you have a ping of like 500. You're in Australia and everything, and you're trying to connect to these bunch of other peoples in these other parts of the world, and you're not sending the data to one of them. You're sending the data to all of them. That's what really hurts. But this type of gameplay, which is leading heavily into macro, right? You don't need very high APM, right? Typical FAF player will have 30 to 60 APM if they're on the low edge of the rating scale. Yeah, so the game synchronizes states at about every 500 milliseconds or so. And it doesn't need much more than that. So that's like the interval over which it's synchronizing. But again, the peer-to-peer networking is really going to be the enemy here, where instead of just sending it to one person, you're going to have to send it to all the players that are connected. And obviously this scales very poorly. The more players you have, and this will be your experience with playing the game. You might be just fine playing a 1v1 in Supreme Commander, but suddenly you're in a 16-player game and you're the problem for some reason, and you can't really understand why. Well, this is why. This is because you're trying to send the data to all 15 of these other players, and your network bandwidth can't handle that, or not very well at least. So with our networking solution, we have one of the player who's broadcasting for the rest of the players, but on top of that, we're gonna do hubs wherever that's necessary. So of course all of this is dynamic, right? By the way, the player who becomes the hub for the rest of the players in game is determined automatically by the game and according to what his upload speed is crossed with his CPU or just simply his upload speed. And then we could on top of that do hubs, like say for example you're gonna have a group of like 3 people in Australia playing with a group of 3 other people in England. One of those people in England's going to have a great upload speed. He's, for example, going to be the main hub, sending out the connection to the 2 other people in England and to one of the guys in Australia, and then the obviously gonna determine who of the 3 in Australia he has the best connection with, and that's gonna be like the main line to that. He's sending the state of the game to that player in Australia, and that player in Australia is acting as the hub, the local hub for those 2 other people, and suddenly you've got a latency that isn't multiplied by 16 but by 2, right? Yeah. So or just by 1, and that's a much better scenario. So that's like the netcode side of things, and these days with our CPUs and everything, that's the main issue with lag, right? And when we say lag, most of the time people are thinking network lag. Yeah. But of course, when you get into those late stages of the game with, in the many hundreds of units, and you have, for example, an air fight with a lot of air units shooting a lot of projectiles at each other, then you actually come to the sim speed lag, to the sim lag, and yeah, so this is gonna be something that is directly correlated with the fact that the simulation runs on a single thread, making that parallel across all those cores that of course we've unlocked over all these years. Supreme Commander was released on a time where the Core Duo of Intel, the very first dual core CPU, was becoming available to the public. Just in time, GPG added a second thread on which to run the UI. And later on there was somebody went back into the code, and I don't know in what kind of context, but they threaded it a little bit more, but it's kind of like it's kind of hybrid, kind of hacked in. This in Sanctuary the results are already incomparable. We depending on the hardware that you have, and again these days on average people have very good hardware in terms of what we need, right? So yeah, I think we can pretty much guarantee that people with anything above an Atom, probably even i3, will be able to run 10,000 units. And then of course, since we want to push the graphics a bit further, obviously we're going to have options to turn a whole bunch of those graphic settings off and everything. But yeah, we're also going to be utilizing your graphic card, whatever that may be, a lot more. I think in terms of minimum specs right now, I would recommend at least a 760, which I know is quite high, but at the same time, Steam surveys have shown that now, like a good, a good majority of people are kind of above that bar. So yeah, we've run network tests internally with 8 players connecting to the same game and everything like that. From our experiences that we have with all these other games, be it Bar, Supreme Commander, Planetary Annihilation, stuff like that, we're already ourselves pretty astonished with how well it holds up. So yeah, it it really goes to show that threading does actually
do a lot.
Does have a lot of benefits.
So for summary on this one, as it was another technical question, and I also have just another little added question that should just be, I think I already know the answer, but I was going to ask because I know somebody's going to be curious. Say the hub player, who is the network hub, disconnects from the game, they die, whatever. Players leave games really often. I take it just looks, the system's going to automatically look for the next strongest player to be the hub.
That's right. That's
okay.
right. Yeah.
And
so yeah, we're gonna have to transfer that role onto the next best connectivity in terms of players, and so yeah, that's something that we haven't implemented yet, but it's something we're pretty confident we can put together.
All right. In summary of the question of lag, and also you answered my next question, which was going to be minimum hardware requirements, so that was pretty good. Minimum hardware was about you said for graphics card a 760, right?
Yeah, I mean, none of this is set in stone.
Yeah.
But I can pretty much safely say that you want to be aiming above 760. Or 760 or 760 and above, and at least 16 gigs of RAM. I know that's quite high for RAM, but RAM has become it's become quite accessible, and yeah, it really makes a hell of a lot of difference in terms of what we can do with the code. So yeah, more RAM, more better. So yeah, definitely at least 16 gigabytes of RAM. And in terms of the CPU, well, I'd like to say any CPU that in terms of L3 cache has about 8 megabytes of cache or more, which in terms of cores, well, I don't know, I want to highball it. Let's say 8 cores. But yeah, again, this is something that has
none of this is set in stone. This is all
not set in stone, but
there's
also
an asterisk
this
on
type.
this question.
Yeah, that's right. But also, like, if you look at what I've just listed out, that's not like
that's like a $400 to $500 machine.
Yeah.
In US dollar, which isn't that's a not a high end machine. Like, just as for example, the machine that I've been building for years that I'm running everything on right now, probably like right now would retail for about $1,500, and it is way above your specs. So
yeah.
The most I think like difficult thing in that list was the amount of RAM, but other than that, everything else in there is. I would argue that most people will probably already have the CPU and GPU required, and getting a little bit of RAM isn't that difficult.
Yeah, if there's anything that's cheap right now, it's RAM. It's the GPUs and the CPUs that are hard to get.
Yeah, and the RAM's cheap because nobody has the other two.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Let's see. Let's move on to another question. And also, just to sum up the lag thing that we were looking at, they're going to be using a different type of networking that uses hubs, so it's not peer-to-peer exactly. It's one of the players in the game acts as
it's not peer-to-peer at all. Peer-to-peer is a specific, open technology that's notably used for downloading torrents. And this is why it always makes me laugh when there's like there was like a recent scandal with somebody who got his internet access revoked from his ISP because they noticed that he torrented Ubuntu, They must be thinking, oh, peer-to-peer, bad, blah, blah, blah. But there's even games that run using peer-to-peer technology. It's not a bad thing. It's just got this negative connotation. But yeah, anyways, beside the point, we're not using peer-to-peer at all. We're using server clients, asterisks.
So basically, one of the players or multiple players act as servers or hubs. They're the players with the strongest internet connection and who look the best. The system will automatically determine that. It's not like just the host of the game.
Yeah. And there's like a
pyramid.
A pyramidal setup with that where there's one player at the top. And so and what we want to do is for if we ever have tournaments with there's money in there and stakes and whatever, people wanna be sure that like everything's legit and there's no cheating and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And in the context of tournaments, then we'll spool up our own servers and we'll be the host. Distributing to the other games. But like if we're hosting tournaments, it's not like even if there's like thousands of games in the tournaments, that's not in terms of cost, that's not comparable to hosting a server for millions of players, let's say. So yeah, that's manageable. We can do that.
All right, so let's move on to the next question. This is the one I think I'm most interested about. The game has 3 factions, or at least 3 planned factions right now. I don't know if you all may even add another one if you feel like it down the line, but as far as we know, we have the EDA, the Chosen, and the Guard. Do you have a plan for making each faction feel unique and be a faction that players are going to get attached to? They're gonna go into discords and argue like, oh, the EDA is better.
Well, actually, now that you bring that up, that's actually something it's going on right now in our Discord. We actually have the ability to choose your faction on the Discord, and then you get access to a secret channel. And in public, in general chat, they're all like making memes against each other and taunting each other, and then in the private chat they're like preparing the memes and also just laughing together at the expense of the other 2 factions. It's great. We've already got a lot of interfactional banter going on, and that's great. And we want to keep that going, obviously, when the game releases. We do definitely want to have factional diversity. I think that's that's what you wanted to strive towards. Factional diversity is near and dear to our hearts, and we think that we may be sticking with 3 factions and not pushing it any further, because that does it's like a slider, right? You get more factions, well, you got more
it's harder to balance.
I guess different choice and everything, and if you're balancing it, obviously, then what happens is that you're going to have less diversity, right? So if you're keeping things balanced, your lever then becomes more factions versus more diversity. And obviously, if you have just the 2, then it's going to be you can have incredibly different factions. If you have 3, it's a little bit less different than 2, but you can have very, very different factions. And
look
so on and so forth.
Look at StarCraft. The 3 factions couldn't be any more different, and they are all pretty well balanced.
Yeah. And the thing is, though, that we do like the ability to very easily, switch from one faction to another. We don't want it to be necessarily as easy. We want it to be easy no matter what, but it probably won't be exactly as easy as it is for Supreme Commander. But we do want to pull that lever a little bit more in the direction of factional diversity. We already have a number of ideas planned, but we're still working through ideas in terms of units and balance and all that stuff. It's a work in progress, but we will have factional diversity.
All right. So moving on to the next question. Will there be a campaign or story mode? And if so, will it be a solo experience or a multiplayer experience? Could we play it with our friends?
So this is another one of those questions that I simply can't answer without, knowing the results of the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
As I said, any single player experience is in, successful Kickstarter territory. If the Kickstarter fails, then it's just, multiplayer skirmish only, which is, what we have the budget to make and so yeah. So I guess that's basically that. But obviously, if your question is what our intent is given the best circumstances, then yes, absolutely, we do want to have a campaign. We do want to have, a story mode. The way that we want the campaign to play out and everything, this is still something that's being determined. We have a number of ideas on that. Is it best to have a campaign that you play as each faction, and then you have a different, end according to what faction you're playing, or is it, chronologically with, one faction each after the other, but actually it's, they're all happening in a chronological order. They're all there at the same time. It's just that you switch point of views during the course of the story. Do you have a cross between that? Do you interspace missions between each point of views? There's many different ideas. So we're still thinking about that, and it's kind of like not our main concern right now, since we're working on the multiplayer first and foremost. But yeah, there's a lot that can be done there, and we do have a lot of ideas, and we do absolutely want to have single player if we can.
All right. So the next question that I have is going to be, I know that this game is supposed to have a huge scale. As it's been explained to me, the scale of this game kind of blows the other two out of the water, the two that are comparable, Bar and FA. Can you explain the difference between the scale of this game and Bar and FA, pretty much? Like, the actual size of just the map alone is crazy, but I would assume that also we're going to probably have some pretty big units and such.
Yeah, so we like the idea of having game ender units, similar, I would say, to games like Forge Alliance and Bar, but yeah, we might like turn that up a notch, and yeah, in terms of the
Map
proportions between units and the map scale, like that. Yeah, you're looking at something that's quite big. Now, come to think of it, Forge Alliance's scale, when you take it to the extreme, it's gigantic. The 81 by 81 kilometer maps are absurd.
Yeah.
But yeah, in general, you have more than enough size to do what you want with a 40 by 40 kilometer map in say Supreme Commander. Our scale is different. We don't use the same references as Supreme Commander. We noticed that it was off in terms of like the ratio of tree to tank and to mountain and to all that stuff. So we made something our own scale that's much more realistic, but that means that our 20 kilometers translates to 40 kilometers in Supreme Commander, right? But yeah, because of the new engine Unity that we're using, and because of our techniques and everything, in terms of mapping and modding, the community will be limited only by their imagination. If they want to go beyond what's the size of the maximum map size that's available in Bar or Supreme Commander Forge Alliance, they totally can, right?
Yeah.
We won't be able to stop them.
Gotcha. What would need to happen for the development team to consider this game a success when it's a finished product?
For there to be, you know, at least like 40,000 players playing it.
All right.
I mean, like maybe I'm setting the bar a little bit high here, but you know, I think we can aim for that at least. Yeah, I think we can aim for that, and I think it might go well beyond that.
All right. And the last question is, describe the Sanctuary project in 10 words.
Sanctuary is a grand-scale, real-time strategy game with strategic zoom and a massive unit count.
All right.
Did I go above 10?
Probably. I was just trying to put you in a hot seat. All right.
Yeah, that worked.
All right. Well, that's all the questions I had. Sincerely, thank you for joining me today. I learned a lot more about the game than I actually thought I was going to. Is there
Awesome.
Is there anything you'd like to say to those watching? Anything you'd like to say? I don't know.
Well, I mean, we have we have the stats that tell us, you know, that like a good portion, I want to say almost 60% of the players in the audience that we're marketing to, you know, the audience that is geared towards more, well, simulated projectile RTS, right? I think that's like the hat for this genre. A good portion of you are, a majority of you are interested in single player, in a campaign. This is like what you really want. We want nothing more in the world than to deliver that to you. Unfortunately, that's just not how deep our wallet goes. So come this December, you know, support us and, you know, support us financially. If, you know, supporting us financially is not within what you can do, then just come on the Discord and, you know, interact with the community there. The more the merrier. And you know, every bit of you know, support, even, you know, moral that we get helps us, you know, push further towards that goal of actually having the single player experience as well as the multiplayer experience for Sanctuary.
All right. Well, thank you again for joining us today, Tatsu. I'm super excited about the Sanctuary project, and I hope to help with spreading the news about. I'm gonna try and push some more stuff about this game, and super excited for the future. And yeah, that's about it. Everybody watching, you're beautiful and have a wonderful day.